here that institutions are moving in. They're taking this price decline from nearly 70,000 to roughly 20,000 as an opportunity to move into a new asset class. And in 2018, Cambridge Associates, which is a consultant for the institutional space, basically said to its clients, okay, you may not like this thing called Bitcoin. It may sound like a Ponzi scheme to you, but it's acting like a new asset class. And that got their antenna up, because what institutional investment managers cannot miss is a new asset class that will diversify the portfolio, meaning lower the correlation of the returns. And Bitcoin is doing that. We think other crypto assets.
And your team's holding on to the $1 million forecast.
Oh yes, more than $1 million.
Above $1 million.
Yes.
By 2030.
2030. And in order to see the building blocks, you'll see we're not making crazy assumptions. The building blocks are in Big Ideas 2022 at arc-invest.com. Even it may just be that we're down less than the market. Some days we're up when the market's down. Why? Because during the later stages of a bear market, the new leadership shows up and starts performing. We're the new leadership. We always are. And many people think, oh, I've got myself covered with the NASDAQ 100. No, look deeply into those indices. We are the new NASDAQ. And most of our stocks are not in those indexes. We haven't owned the FANGs in our flagship for quite some time. That's not the new anymore. TikTok has come along and destroyed a lot of models. So yes, I think that we're seeing the early stages of a bottoming process. At the same time, many people are saying we're going into a recession. Now, we think we've been in a recession, and that the negative numbers will reassert themselves after this positive third quarter, mostly because of the inventory overhang, and we need to clear that out. I think many forecasters may say, oh, this is going to last forever, this recession through. We think it's just a major inventory correction, and then we'll be on our way again.
So a short-lived recession is what?
Early 80s, and I was fairly new to the business. Chairman Volcker was fighting a 15-year inflation problem. It started in 1964 with the Vietnam War and the Great Society. So 15 years. And people were used to inflation, so they were demanding it in wages and so forth. He took interest rates up twofold, 10% to 20%. This Fed has taken interest rates up roughly 16-fold in 9 months. Now, economics takes place at the margin, changes at the margin in all kinds of pricing, and interest rates are prices. Changes at the margin are incredibly impactful. And I think we will look back in history and say, wait a minute, a 16-fold increase in 9 months without stopping to see what's happening is crazy. It's great.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have Cathie Wood stating that Bitcoin is going to hit $1 million by 2030. And we see the institutions are definitely moving in during the bear market. Why? Because they know it's going to be a lot of consolidation. We saw it with the actual tech boom. We saw the blueprint if you're old enough. Now, as she states, she has a new leadership. She's talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And we know she's invested in robots, algorithms, and drones. The automation that's going to run through this economy. And she talks about how fast the Fed is raising rates. And we know why. They're raising them so fast so they can destroy this legacy market so the new digital economy can rise. And we have Sam Zell on CNBC saying the same thing. The Fed is going to put us in an actual recession. But guys, we know we're already in a recession. We're going to go through a great depression. And as the Fed is shrinking liquidity, we see it's destroying the emerging markets. Remember, guys, they printed all this money, 20% of all money in existence in 1 year. And we already know that destroyed the U.S. dollar, destroyed the fiat economy. But because the dollar is so strong, We know a lot of our companies are sitting on like $200 billion in cash. Warren Buffett, Apple, and we know the central banks use those companies as vehicles to buy up everything. Total consolidation. And remember, the crypto teacher wrote it in his NWO book a long time ago because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I guess I wonder what you're doing with your investments at this point. If that's the case, then stock market probably has further to fall. Interest rates maybe move higher from here. What do you do as a result?
I think interest rates are going to move higher from here. I think that a lot of the discussion about interest rates have talked in terms of absolutes, when in fact I think relatives are more important than absolutes. So, taking the cost of capital from 2 to 0, in my opinion, accomplished very little. Taking interest rates from 0 to 2 accomplished very little. And it's only now that we're in the 3s and 4s and on our way to the 5s, that we're seeing some impact. But it's still very early, and I wouldn't get, I don't think there's any basis for being overly optimistic that this will be done very quickly or without pain. I mean, if you go back to end of World War II to today, we've had a series of recessions. We've never had a recession without a liquidity crisis. And I would, if I were guessing, I would think that a liquidity crisis is the next item on the agenda.
Are you hoarding cash then?
I'm sorry?
Are you hoarding cash then?
Well, I guess I've been hoarding cash for some time. And at first I said, gee, holding a lot of cash in an inflationary environment, maybe not so smooth. But the more I looked at the situation, the more I was convinced that, liquidity is value. And there's definitely a liquidity issue that's arising. I mean, at Equity Residential, we just finished redoing our revolver. Now we're an A- company and a behemoth, $40 billion company, and very low leverage. And getting that revolver done was a challenge. It was hard.
As an A- company.
I'm sorry?
As an A- company, too.
Yeah, this is, it's just a function of people are concerned about making commitments. I would be too. Everybody who committed to the tweeter takeout is going to get taken out. And there's been a number of other deals where, banks made commitments not so long ago, and those commitments aren't viable.
I mean, we have heard from a number of business leaders who have been very concerned about the Fed's rate hikes, the level we're getting to, saying that it's already having a big impact on business and potentially putting us in a recession if we're not already in one. What's your take on this? Because I know as recently as July, you were still thinking the Fed had some room to run.
Yeah, I think the Fed is doing all the right things now, reflective of the fact that the Fed didn't do all the right things earlier this year. The concept of transitory inflation is pretty awful. And I've never heard that phrase before, and I'm sure they'll never use it again. But we overflooded the society with capital. We debased, a fiat currency, we what was it, $8 trillion that we did in 3 years. I mean, we used to do, stuff in Congress was $1 billion, and that was a big deal. $1 trillion? And how could you not expect that to create inflation? And not only a minor inflation, but, 10% inflation is a serious scenario. And I'm not even sure that that's really reflective of how much inflation is really existing.
So if the Fed's doing the right thing right now, you would encourage them to keep this up. What Jay Powell said yesterday was right. And that means what in terms of the pain that the economy is going to feel?
Well, I think that the likelihood is that we're going to have a recession. Frankly, that's what happens when you flood the world with money, and everything is free. You lead to excess, and excess ultimately leads to a recession.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.